A doctor just revealed new details about King Von's final moments, and it's nothing like anyone expected. Everybody thought Van's story ended when he was shot outside that club.
He was supposed to have 3 surgeries. He made it through 2. He hopped off the bed after the second surgery and supposedly started fighting the nurse.
That was just the start. What came after is even crazier. Let's get into it. Shocking details about King Von's final hospital moments. During the early hours of November 6, 2020, the rap game took a devastating L when King Von, one of Chicago's hardest drill artists, caught fatal shells outside Atlanta's Monaco Hookah Lounge. But what his day ones don't know is the insane truth about his final hospital moments. A story so crazy it sounds like street mythology rather than actual medical facts. While them cameras outside caught the shootout that sent Von to the hospital, what went down behind them hospital doors stayed on lock until both spilled some tea that shocked the whole hip-hop community. According to a Reddit discussion from March 18, 2025 titled "Buo Explains How King Von Died During Surgery." This revelation blew up with over 400 upvotes and 300 comments from fans who couldn't believe their eyes. From Bo's account, Van's final moments were nothing short of legendary. Even with surgeons trying everything to save him, Van stayed true to them O-block instincts that made him feared throughout Chicago. A World Star hip-hop post from March 2025 details.
He had 3 surgeries, but he made it. He was supposed to have 3 surgeries. He made it through 2. He hopped off the bed after the second surgery and supposedly started fighting the nurse and asked the nurse, "Where's his gun at?"
In what doctors called an unprecedented reaction to trauma, Von allegedly threw hands with hospital staff, demanding his blick still in survival mode despite having catastrophic wounds. According to Bo, this final act of defiance ultimately caused Von to die from hypovolemic shock. His body couldn't handle both the gunshot trauma and the extreme stress from jumping off the table. And then he died because he went into
shock. So I'm guessing if he would just laid there, he probably would have survived.
As expected, fans went crazy when they heard this, wondering how Van still had the strength to pull off such a move. That's the most Van thing I ever heard. Died how he lived. A real soldier. If you know Van's music, you know this is exactly how he would go out, looking for his pole till the end. Bro was ready to slide on his ops from the surgery table. That's why he was the most feared in Chicago. This story spread like wildfire across social media in 2025, racking up thousands of shares and reactions. Fans couldn't stop talking about this final chapter in Van's life. To really understand why this story hit so hard with fans, you got to know who King Von really was. Born Devin Bennett, Von wasn't just another rapper. Many saw him as one of Chicago's most feared drill scene personalities, with a rep that went way beyond his music. Before he ever spit a bar under Lil Durk's F label, Von had already built a fearsome street presence in O-Block. His raw storytelling in tracks like Crazy Story and Took Her to the O wasn't just art. Many believe these were real chronicles of his life in Chicago's dangerous streets. Van embodied that raw, unfiltered Chicago energy. His music wasn't cap, it was his real life. That's why this story of his final moments resonates so hard with his fans. It perfectly matches the image of a man who never backed down, who stayed ready for whatever. According to those close to him, Von kept the same intensity in real life as he showed in his music. His reported final moments, fighting hospital staff, searching for his tool even as his vital signs were crashing, have become part of the King Von legend, cementing his image as unflinching to the very end. But these actions ultimately cost him his life. For Van's loyal fans, this story is the ultimate proof of his character, a man who lived and died by his code. Across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, fans have created endless tributes showcasing Van's final stand. The comments don't lie. Van really jumped off the operating table looking for his gun. Most gangster I ever heard. Long live Von. They can't say that slide for Van no more. Forever. This why the ops was scared of him. Even dying. He was ready to blow. Real demon hours. This account has even inspired bars from other artists paying homage to Van's legendary final moments. References to leaving the operating table and seeking protection during surgery have appeared in multiple drill tracks since the story emerged, cementing this narrative in hip-hop history. Medical experts might question whether someone could actually regain consciousness during surgery or have enough physical strength to fight after taking multiple gunshots. But in drill culture, where reputations are built on street cred and never showing weakness, Van's alleged final moments represent the ultimate proof of his authenticity. Throughout O-Block and nationwide, tributes to King Von often reference this story. Fans leave symbolic guns as offerings, representing the weapon Von supposedly looked for in his final moments. The image of Von rising from the operating table has become as iconic as any of his album covers or music videos. As some fans put it, this why they dropped the charges against his killer. They knew what type of demon Von was. Even dying, he was a threat. Van didn't die from gunshots. He died from being too real for this world. Looking for his pole during surgery is the hardest thing I ever heard. This the type of story they'll tell about Von 100 years from now. A real legend. Whether you believe Bo's account or remain skeptical, its impact on King Von's legacy is undeniable. For his fans, it's the perfect ending to the story of someone who lives surrounded by guns and ultimately died seeking one. It goes beyond typical celebrity death stories and becomes street mythology. At the end of the day, what allegedly happened in that hospital room has transcended King Von himself. It speaks to the life he lived and the legacy he left. A legacy that continues to influence drill music and street culture years after his passing. For Von fans, this isn't just another story about a rapper who died too young. It's the final chapter of a real one who stayed true to himself until his last breath. King Van died after beefing with Quando Rondo. So, we gotta break down how this deadly rivalry popped off. The beef between King Von and Quando Rondo started brewing way before their fatal encounter in Atlanta. The catalyst of King Von's death, F versus Quando Rondo. To really get this situation, we need to look at the complex web of label politics and street alliances in today's rap game. King Von, born Devin Bennett, came up from Chicago's notorious O-Block as Lil Durk's protege, joining his Only the Family label in 2018. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo, born Twine Bowman, rep Savannah, Georgia, and rolled with NBA Young Boys Never Broke Again crew around the same time. This wasn't just about record deals. F and NBA were opposing forces in hip-hop with tension building between their leaders, Lil Durk and NBA Youngboy for years. Their artists inherited these problems, getting caught up in a silent war most people didn't fully understand. The first public sign of direct beef between Von and Quando popped up around 2018 to 2019 when King Von went on Instagram Live to call out NBA Youngboy's authenticity, questioning his street cred with comments like, "What is Youngboy talking about in this song? He's saying all this crazy stuff that's not his life. I'm addressing him now." Cap. While this might seem like normal rap rivalry in drill's hypersensitive world, that kind of disrespect rarely goes unanswered. What makes this situation even more tragic is that shortly before his death, King Von seemed to downplay the growing conflict, saying in an interview, "There ain't no beef or real smoke unless somebody gets touched." His words would prove eerily prophetic, foreshadowing the violence to come. November 6, 2020, a date that would forever change multiple careers and lives. Around 4 a.m. outside Monaco Hookah Lounge in downtown Atlanta, security cameras caught what started as an unplanned encounter between two entourages and ended in bloodshed. According to multiple confirmed accounts and the surveillance footage that later went viral online, King Von and his crew were leaving the spot when they spotted Quando Rondo and his squad in the parking lot. What happened next is still debated, but the footage clearly shows Von approaching Quando's group, followed by physical confrontation. Within seconds, everything escalated. Fists were thrown before someone, later identified as Timothy Lulu Tim Leaks, a close associate of Quando Rondo, emerged from behind an SUV and started shooting. King Von took multiple hits in this initial exchange. The chaotic incident left 6 people shot with 3 dead, including Von and Mark Blakely, another Chicago native. What made this situation even more complex is that it happened with both off-duty and on-duty Atlanta police officers present nearby. These officers intervened, returning fire, though official statements from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation confirmed that King Von was hit during the initial civilian gunfight, not from police bullets. Following the shooting, Von was rushed to a hospital in a private vehicle, where he would later die from his injuries. At just 26 years old, one of drill music's most gifted storytellers had his own story cut short. Legal proceedings started quickly after the high-profile incident. On November 7, 2020, just one day after the shooting, Timothy Leaks was arrested and charged with felony murder in connection with King Von's death. Leaks himself was wounded during the exchange and was taken into custody while still being treated at Grady Hospital. The Atlanta Police Department initially considered the murder investigation closed after Leaks' arrest, suggesting they had solid evidence of his guilt in the fatal shooting. However, the legal case would take several unexpected turns in the months and years that followed. Despite murder typically being a non-bondable offense under Georgia law, Leaks received a $100,000 bond on March 27, 2021, after his lawyers successfully petitioned the Superior Court. This controversial decision immediately outraged King Von's associates and fans. Fellow Chicago rapper Lil Reed publicly hinted at retaliation on social media, ominously stating, "We'll handle his situation very soon." The investigation also led to 2 more arrests. Johnny Harris, charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and Kevin Jones, who faced aggravated assault charges. Meanwhile, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation continued examining the officer involved shooting aspects of the case, while Atlanta Police Department focused on the civilian deaths. Perhaps the most surprising development came in August 2023, when the felony murder charges against Timothy Leaks were dismissed before formal indictment. His attorney, Noah Pines, confirmed this shocking outcome to multiple media outlets. Though the exact reason behind the dismissal was never officially explained by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, this dismissal would only intensify a beef that was already spiraling out of control across social media, diss tracks, and increasingly real-world violence. Following Von's death, what had been brewing tension exploded into open conflict, starting with a battle fought through music and social media. Both sides moved quickly to control the narrative around the Atlanta incident. On November 20, 2020, just 2 weeks after the fatal confrontation, Wando Rondo dropped End of Story, a track addressing the fight and pushing his self-defense narrative with lines like, "Look at the footage. That's all the evidence. They shouldn't have been stepped to me aggressively." Wando clearly portrayed Von as the aggressor in their confrontation. The track's title itself seemed provocative, suggesting Von's story was finished. Wando stuck to his story. During an April 2021 interview with Angela Ye, he claimed he was sleeping in a car when the incident started and didn't even know it was King Von until the next day, emphasizing, "I ain't never in my life talked to them ever." He also denied allegations that he tried to snatch Von's chain after the shooting, dismissing such claims as completely fabricated. Despite these claims of innocence, Wando Rondo faced heavy criticism for actions many saw as disrespectful to Von's memory. On April 3, 2021...
They used to say, but you also mentioned a song, they be like, they be saying Slide for Von, I think they trolling me. Yo, by the way, that song is fire, I ain't gonna lie.
For some reason, I just don't see the comments no more.
What no one knew at that moment was that this incident would eventually lead to the most serious legal consequences yet in this deadly beef, with implications that continue unfolding to this day. Tragedy for the following: a revenge mission for King Von. The period after King Von's death set the stage for a beef that would go way beyond normal rap rivalries. As fans mourned the Chicago drill artist passing, tensions between Lil Durk's Only the Family, F, and NBA YoungBoy's Never Broke Again were already heating up dangerously. The musical and social media shots soon gave way to real violence, showing how rap industry beefs can have deadly consequences beyond diss tracks and public stunting. On May 3, 2021, 6 months after King Von's death, Wando Rondo was shot at in Blackshear, Georgia. While he wasn't seriously hurt, many saw this as potential retaliation from F affiliates. Though no direct connections were ever officially proven, the situation got much worse on August 19, 2022, when Quando was involved in another shooting, this time in Los Angeles, where his cousin, Savia Robinson, aka LOLPAB, was killed. This tragic event would later become central to the federal case against Lil Durk, with prosecutors claiming it wasn't random violence, but a calculated hit. In October 2024, nearly 4 years after King Von's death, the beef took its most shocking turn. Lil Durk was arrested in Florida by U.S. Marshals on federal charges related to an alleged murder for hire plot targeting Quando Rondo, a plot that prosecutors claim resulted in the death of Rondo's cousin, Lil PAB, during that August 2022 Los Angeles incident. The indictment filed in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles detailed what prosecutors described as a meticulously planned operation motivated by revenge for King Von's killing. Durk faced multiple serious charges: conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death, use of interstate facilities, and the commission of murder for hire resulting in death, and multiple weapons charges, including use of a machine gun in a crime of violence resulting in death. According to federal prosecutors, Durk allegedly financed and orchestrated the hit by paying 5 associates, Kayvon London Grant, DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Brian Lynn C., and Asa Houston to travel from Chicago to Los Angeles to carry out the hit. Evidence presented included financial records showing payment cards linked to used for travel arrangements, along with incriminating communications warning his associates not to book transportation under his name or anything connected to. This move just suggested efforts to hide the connection. Location data placing Durk in the San Fernando Valley on the day of the operation further strengthened the prosecution's case. Perhaps most damaging was Durk's alleged attempt to flee the country after his associates' arrest, with bookings for international flights to Dubai, Switzerland, and Italy cited as evidence of consciousness of guilt. If convicted, Durk faces a statutory maximum of life in federal prison, with some reports suggesting the possibility of the death penalty. His trial, initially scheduled for January 2025, was postponed to October 14, 2025 due to the case's complexity involving over 230 gigabytes of digital evidence and 20,000 pages of documentation. The case has been further complicated by a wrongful death lawsuit filed in February 2025 by Andrea Quilla Robinson, Lil PAB's mother, against Durk, his business manager, and another organization. Meanwhile, Durk's legal team has challenged the evidence, arguing it relies on misinformation, including YouTube videos uploaded by fan accounts and song lyrics that prosecutors have cited as evidence. While Lil Durk's legal team fought the federal charges, 2 key players in this story took very different approaches to the escalating situation. 3 days after Durk's arrest, Quando Rondo posted a cryptic message on Instagram alongside the announcement of his new track, Life Goes On. We didn't enter this music industry to succeed, just to remain entangled in street activities. We all have families and communities depending on us. It's time to abandon that lifestyle. We've already experienced tremendous loss, and I'm deeply committed to forgiving anyone I experienced conflict with previously. I extend positivity to everyone, praying for everyone, he quipped. Though Rondo didn't directly mention Lil Durk, the timing and content led many to interpret it as a response to Durk's arrest and perhaps an attempt to end the beef. After losing his cousin and surviving multiple attempts on his own life, Rondo's message suggested a desire for reconciliation and peace. A complete contrast to the violent rhetoric that had dominated the beef for years. For the music industry, this case raises serious questions about the relationship between artistic expression and real violence. When lyrics about retaliation are interpreted by fans as promises that need to be kept, and when social media amplifies these expectations, artists can find themselves trapped in escalating cycles of violence. They feel unable to escape without losing credibility. Legal scholars and criminal justice advocates have noted how this case shows the increasing use of song lyrics as evidence in criminal proceedings, a practice disproportionately affecting hip-hop artists and raising concerns about racial bias in the justice system. Dirk's legal team's challenge to prosecutors' use of his lyrics highlights this ongoing debate.